Welcome back, everybody. This is No B.S. Sports. This is Chewy, Mike, Chayton, and Damon coming at you today talking some NBA, and we're going to get started today talking about the little virtual horse that a few players are participating in.
I thought the horse competition is pretty interesting. It's something that we've never seen before, and definitely with all this going on, it gives us something to watch, really. Or like how they started with the 2K competition, and now they're going to like actual basketball. I think it's a cool idea, and I like how they're bringing in WNBA players too. So it's not just NBA players. It gives us a little bit of different scenery than we're used to. Personally, I think Trae Young is going to take the cup. I just think his shot from anywhere. I think that's just going to be too deadly at the end of the day. I just don't think anyone can shoot from deep like he can in this competition. I just think he's going to walk away with it pretty easily.
Who's your sleeper?
Sleeper. I'm probably a little biased, but Paul Pierce. I think he's been practicing. I think he's ready.
See, I think Paul Pierce is gonna take it home. He ain't my sleeper. He's my winner. I think he ain't gonna call bank. He gonna call game.
Yeah.
So I see him. I see him taking it home. I think Trae Young. I think he's got a lot of deep range. I think Paul Pierce. He's a hard out. He can spread the floor and make a lot of mid range shots. So I think he can hit it from anywhere. My sleeper though is gonna be Tamika. I think WNBA players often get slept on, and I think they're just as good, if not better, than some of the NBA guys. So I think she's gonna be my sleeper pick. I don't know if she'll win it all, but she'll definitely be there towards the end.
I like that.
Yeah, my pick is gonna be Mr. Zach LaVine. Definitely can make shots just about all around the court. I know Paul Pierce told him not, or was it Paul Pierce that told him not to dunk?
Trae.
No, Trae Young.
Trae Young told him not to dunk. I don't care. He's not listening. I feel like he's just gonna throw one of them out there. But I feel like he'd do it against somebody that he knew could though. Is there even anybody? Nah, he's just gonna do it. He about to win it all. But my sleeper is gonna be Allie Quigley from the Chicago Sky. She is a dead eye. I think, if I'm not mistaken, she's won the 3-point contest the last 2 years. And she actually, you know how Devin Booker got like 28 points in the last time he was in it, which is like the highest it's been in a long time. She actually got 29 last year. So I think she can definitely hang with them. I could see her going to the end.
All right. I think overall this horse game is definitely something that the fans needed. I mean, sports fans, we just need something to watch. Like Mike touched on, I mean, there just really has been nothing. The 2K was fun to watch the players play each other. I think it's interesting. You bring in some alumni like Paul Pierce, WNBA, NBA players. I thought that was very well. Yeah, Chauncey's in it, NBA champion. I think it's gonna be fun to watch. And for my winners, I'm going with Chris Paul because I feel like Chris Paul is going to do a crazy shot behind the back, or he's going to do just a crazy trick shot. I think Chris Paul is a little slept on as a shooter. Everyone thinks, he's just a distributor. I mean, he showed in Houston that he can knock down threes. I think Chris Paul is maybe not the favorite, but he's definitely going to win just because he just has that uncanny ability to surprise you now and then. I mean, look at the dunk he had this year in the All-Star game. Who thought he was going to throw that one down? But my sleeper is Tamika because, I mean, she's a straight baller. I want to say she was 7-time first team all WNBA. I mean, she's a hooper. I think she's a 10-time WNBA All-Star. She has a little range. She's 6'1", so if she needs to throw one down, she can throw one down. So I like Tamika as my sleeper pick for this horse competition. All right, let's talk about a little actual basketball with the season, and let's talk about who we thought could have stole the 8th seed if this season were to finish out. So, Mike, you can start there.
So currently in the West, the Memphis Grizzlies hold the 8th seed. They hold it by currently 3 games. They are 3.5 games over Portland, and 3.5 games over Portland and the Pelicans.
And the Kings.
Kings as well. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Three-way tie. Three-way race for the 8th seed, and then obviously the 8th seed Grizzlies. Personally, I think it's more Portland Pelicans. I'm not sleeping on the Kings, but I don't think they're built the same as the other 2 teams. I think Portland has 2 proven all-stars on it. They haven't been necessarily clicking this season, like at the same time. But I think they're not a team to be slept on. And then the Pelicans, obviously, with Lonzo coming back and he's looking great. And then you have Zion. I mean, there's nothing to even say about that. And then you got Brandon Ingram, he's been a man among boys this year. He's come alive. He was kind of a good player in LA, and then they traded him, and he just started coming alive. Personally, I think if the season finished out, I like the Pelicans because I think they have more options, like on offense, than the Trailblazers do. I don't think that just the 2 guards are really going to be able to push them over compared to Lonzo, Zion, and Brandon Ingram. I also don't think that anybody can really guard Zion. To this at this time, I haven't seen anyone really lock him up. He's just such a dynamic player. And then Brandon Ingram, he gets his every play, so it doesn't really matter. And then you have the advantage with Lonzo, who's a great defender, but he's big. He's 6'6", 6'5", and he's going to tower over their guards. I think that the Pelicans, and then I think they can beat Memphis. I like Memphis. I think they're a good team. They're super young, as are the Pelicans, though. I like the star power from New Orleans compared to Memphis. Memphis has some good guys. They have a couple guys that are going to be superstars or stars. But I think the Pelicans have more options like I said, against Portland. That will just push them over the edge personally.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it coming down to the race of the rookies, Zion and Ja. I think your rookie of the year, Ja, is probably going to keep that team afloat and holding on through the back half of the season. I don't know if he's enough on the Grizzlies to keep him in the 8th seed. I also don't know if Zion, if he's going to be 100% healthy the rest of the year. I know they're letting him off his minutes restrictions and things like that, but if he goes down at all during this back stretch, I feel like that would be a huge blow to that team and that progress. The only other team that I can maybe squeak it in, because I don't like the Kings, if CJ and Dame can get it together up there in Portland, that's a hard out. That's a couple experienced guys. It's a couple guys coming off a conference championship push last year. I think those guys with their experience have a chance to come out and be the 8th seed. They're going to get rocked by whoever comes out of the 1 seed, the Lakers, or I think it's the Clippers or the Nugs. Whatever team comes out is going to get rocked. But I think just to get in, my favorites are the Pelicans, just because of Zion and those ballers that you said. But the only other team I could see besides them in Memphis is Portland. The Kings are out. They're going to slip and fall out. They just don't have the firepower and the star power that those other teams have. But I think if Dame and CJ can figure it out down the stretch, that would be a team that I wouldn't want to play going down the stretch. But again, I wouldn't want to put the Lakers at the 1 seed either.
So I got a question. So you're ranking the teams in the 8th seed, who's got the best odds with the 4 teams?
I feel like you'd have to give Memphis the nod just because they're there already. I think that if they were all tied, my Pelicans would be the one that would be on number 1. But that's a lot of games they'd have to lose at 3.5 games. So it'd be a little slip they'd have to have. So I think Memphis, because they're already there, then the Pelicans, Portland, and then the Kings in a very far fourth place.
Yeah, so I agree. I do feel like Portland is definitely not somebody to completely sleep on. They do have Dame and CJ, and then often forgotten they still have Hassan Whiteside at center, and then and also you think about Nurkic has been out for a decent amount of time, so I feel like if they had him getting down the stretch, they may be able to pull something. But I'm agree with Mike that I would have to give the Pelicans that AC because this last month, the last month that they played, they started really picking up heat when Zion came back. Even without him, they were starting to play a little bit better. Lonzo was really distributing the ball very well. And then they're very young, but they still have the vets. They got JJ Redick. They have Derek Favors, correct? Still, or they do? Yeah, they have
Yep.
Derek Favors. So even if Zion were to go down, they still have a veteran guy that knows the ropes. Ingram is playing absolutely. He's playing out of his mind this season. He really stepped up. I think getting traded to New Orleans was probably the best thing for his career, especially with LeBron coming to the Lakers. He never would have had his chance to really show his true potential. And they have one of the holidays, don't they? Have Drew. They have Drew Holiday too. They're very big team. They have a solid bench. They got Nikhil Walker over there. So I think they will be able to make a run and at least gain some weight on the Grizzlies.
I think they'd be the best matchup for the 1 seed too. I think they put up the most pressure. I don't think they can win, but I think they put up the most pressure.
Yeah, I think they would size up pretty well with them as well.
Playoff Brown's a hard out, especially with AD and 100% now too, or AD and LeBron with 100%. Like they're going to be a hard out for anybody that plays them. It's hard to match up with LeBron and AD. If it was just one of them, I could see a team squeaking out in that 1 seed, but with both of them 100%, that's a hard out.
Yeah, I like what you guys are saying. I think the Pelicans have the easiest route they had the easiest route to get to the 8 seed because they had multiple games against Sacramento, 2 against Memphis. They had like 3 against the Spurs. So they had opportunities to beat these other teams also fighting. And, I mean, they've been decently hot. But, I mean, we all know they had, I think, one of the easiest schedules finishing out. But, I mean, they lost games down the stretch with Dallas, LA a few times, OKC. I mean, Pelicans just aren't a playoff team in my eyes. I mean, I think they're a year away. I think Zion coming on late hurt their chances. I think it's too little too late. If the season were to continue, if it wasn't for COVID-19, I would put all my chips in the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, they're young. No one thought they were going to be an 8 seed. Saw them make them playoffs anyway. Ja's been a great leader for the team. He distributes the basketball, scores when he needs to, plays defense. They're all locked in. Guys like Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, right? Dylan Brooks from Oregon. Yeah, the forward. He had a very good year this year. I think scoring 13, 14 points a game. I think the highest of his career so far. A very good role player for that team. They're not selfish there. You don't hear a lot of buzz. They're pretty quiet in Memphis. No drama. I like what they were doing. But I think if we were able to get some type of regular season going forward with 10 games or something before the playoffs, I'm going to go with the Portland Trail Blazers because I know Nurkic was close to coming back prior to this, and Zach Collins has been hurt for a while, and I don't think he could have came back this year, but if he did, have been close to the postseason, which now he has extra time to recover. I mean, Portland, Shane, you touched on it. They were conference semifinals last year. I mean, they held multiple 15-point leads against Golden State and ended up choking those games and blowing them open. I think Portland gives LA the toughest games just because New Orleans they're just not going to be ready for the playoffs. You got too many young guys that won't be ready for that stage. They gave good games the regular season, but we all know postseason is different basketball. And I think Portland has that experience with Dame Lillard, and he can knock down a shot in the clutch. We've seen it. He's done it for the last few years in the playoffs. He's made big shots, big game winners. He's not going to shy from the moment. CJ's dropped 35, 40 in playoff games. I think was Hassan, and then if they get Nurk back, I mean, they made a trade for Trevor Ariza, I believe. I mean, they got some defenders, and I think if we do get some type of regular season, maybe June, like a 10-gamer or something like that, or maybe they do finish it, I think Portland has the best odds of getting that 8 seed and maybe upsetting LA, if not at least taking them 6 games, maybe 7.
You think that they can take them even though they don't have super good like wing players? I mean, other than like guard, like I mean, so I wouldn't count Dame as a wing player. I would say like CJ and then your small forward because that's really LA's only weakness.
So you're talking about Portland versus the Lakers, right? If
Correct.
the Portland can match up with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Portland necessarily matches up well, like with the forward spot with LeBron being there. Because I mean, maybe throw Nazir Little, or you maybe start Ariza. I mean, they're gonna throw different bodies at LeBron. That's what you got to do. But I mean, LA is not a good matchup for Portland's guards, and at least Portland, if they get Nurk back, I mean, Hassan Whiteside's gonna get boards because LA dominates people on the glass, and Portland, if they get Nurk back, they'll be able to compete on the glass. And I know Hassan Whiteside's not Anthony Davis, but he can go get you 15 rebounds if he's motivated right. And
3 blocks.
Yeah, I mean, they will be, I think, just the toughest matchup because New Orleans has some size, but they're young. I mean, Favors, he's a vet, but you got Jackson Hayes, Zion, he's 6'6", but, he can get up there and body. But Portland, I think, just gives the biggest challenge because who's LA going to put on? I mean, Avery Bradley will have his games now and then, might slow down CJ, but slowing down CJ and Dame's going to be trouble for LA if they got him in the first round. So
Yeah, I
it's
think that's
vice
respectable.
versa. Yeah. All right, let's move into who we think wins conference championships, who goes to the finals this year if we get a finals. Let's hear your thoughts on that.
So I'm looking at it as if the season ended today. Like this is how the standings are. So in the East, I have Boston being the Bucks in 6. I just think Boston, they match up so well against the Bucks. I think they're one of the only teams that really can match up super well. I think with them being young, them being super athletic, I think that helps a lot. They also, in my opinion, have Defensive Player of the Year in Marcus Smart, he can't come down every play and guard Giannis, but he can take his turns with him, switching off with Tatum, who's an excellent defender, and also Jaylen Brown, who's a great defender as well. And then you throw Gordon Hayward in there, who not the best defender, but he's bigger. He's bigger bodied, so he can help slow him down. And then they just have a collection of great players. They have Tice, who's in my opinion, one of the most slept on centers in the league right now. He does his job. He's not flashy. He doesn't do anything he can't do. He sets picks. He gets rebounds, playing defense, passes the ball, and then you got Smart coming off the bench. I just think he's so dynamic. He's some games he's 1 for 10 from 3, but some games he's 6 for 8 from 3. He's a game changer. Doesn't matter if he's hitting shots or missing shots. And then you got Brad Wanamaker, who he's been kind of under the fire lately with Boston fans. But he's a great person coming off the bench. He's not flashy. He's like Tice. He does his job. He's nothing flashy with him. I also like Grant Williams coming off the bench. I think he could take turns on Giannis. I don't think he's a great defender, but he puts effort, and that's really what it comes down to. No one's going to lock down Giannis. You just have to slow him down. So that's going to help tremendously. And then finally, you got Kemba Walker. He hasn't been there in the playoffs, but he's been there in the clutch moments, and that's something that Boston was missing last year. Because Kyrie he didn't want to be there. He wasn't trying to be the best he could be. Kemba wants to be here. Kemba is Kyrie's clutch gene. I think and him being wanting to be there is super helpful. I just think Boston has so much firepower. They can score from any. Kemba can drop 40, Jalen, Jason, or Gordon Hayward. I just think they have too many good matchups on offense. The only problems that I see Boston having is Chris Middleton decides to score 40 points on them like usual. And then if Brook Lopez starts hitting shots, I mean, as he has most of the season, if he stays hot, that could be an issue. But I feel like Boston matches up super well, especially like with just speed specifically. They're more athletic than them in my opinion, and I think that they can handle with the Bucks in 6.
So who they faced in the finals? So that's the East. You got Boston in 6. Who do you got coming out of the West? Who you see over there?
I really want to say the Lakers, but if healthy, I say the Clippers. I really like how the Clippers they play. LA Lakers are horrible against great wing players, and I mean the best collection of wing players is in LAC. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. If they can play 30 minutes a game, I'm saying if healthy, if they can play 30, 35 minutes a game, I don't see the Lakers being able to stop them. The Lakers, they're a great team. Before the season, I didn't think they were going to be as good as they were because their benches, if you look at them on paper, they're pretty old. They're kind of washed up, or it seemed as if they've actually come alive. Dwight Howard balling for them, Rondo balling for them. Kuzma has his games, but the Lakers have been playing a great season. But I think if the Clippers can get healthy, which this would give them time to, I think they're a hard team to beat. I like Patrick Beverly. He's a good defender. He brings energy that's what you need. Then you got Kawhi. You could say the best two-way player, or one of the best at least. Same with Paul George. I mean, Paul George was up there for Defensive Player of the Year last year. He had like 2.5 steals a game. He's a beast. Montrezl Harrell, beast. Lou Williams coming off the bench. I just think they have a bunch of firepower. They're a great defensive team. They're sound. They have a great coach. In my opinion, a better coach in Doc Rivers. I just think in 7 games they could beat the Lakers. And every game's a home game for both of them. So there's no advantage.
Yeah, I like that. And I think if we go off history, I mean, there's time off, but it seems like the Lakers will probably be the healthier team heading in that series because the Clippers can't be healthy this year. Whether that be Paul, Kawhi, he rests, but it just seems like the Clippers always come up with an injury at some point, and I feel like even the time off gets them healthy, but then coming back, they're going to be more prone to injury because they haven't been playing, and they've been having nagging injuries.
Yeah, as I said, it's if they're healthy. If they're not, Lakers. Like if let's say one of them are out, it's Lakers and
So
5.
Boston or Lakers?
Yeah, I got Boston. I think that they hurt LA the same way. So if they play the Lakers, they hurt them the same way. Jaylen Brown. I mean, he's coming alive this year, and obviously Jason Tatum as well. That's a collection of great wing players again. And then you throw in Gordon Hayward, who he's not as athletic as the other two, but he's sneaky athletic. He does what he needs to do. He's a great shooter. He's a great facilitator. He's good at what he does. I think that's really going to hurt LA. And also the 2 games that they played this year. The first game, Boston blew LA out at home, and they showed that they can compete. Everyone was healthy on both teams. And then the last game, it ended in overtime, correct?
No, it was some BS at the end of the game.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, with the call.
So Boston lost by 2 points.
Yeah,
away without Kemba Walker. And
a questionable call.
Yeah, I was about to say they had to lead almost the whole game. And then at the end, They got a couple bad calls. I'm not saying that – I mean, it did change the game, but either way, they lost by 2 without their leader and Kemba Walker. And LA was fully healthy, and they were balling. So I'm taking Boston. I think Boston can win it this year.
I agree with you almost completely, Mike, except my second team in the East would not be Boston. It would be the Miami Heat. I think the Bucks. I think that's the obvious favorite. The Bucks are a stout team at home, only having 3 losses, and 2 of those losses are to the Miami Heat. And in a playoff 4-game series, you have to steal one. If you're on the road for those 4 games, you got to steal one away. I think the only possible team that has the best team, the team with the best chance to steal a game on the road against the Bucks is going to be the Heat. I think Boston, while they're a good team, if they're healthy, I think that's the big if with Boston. I think if they can stay healthy, they're one of the best teams in the NBA, not just the East. But if you have to play Boston, if you have to play Milwaukee up in Milwaukee, that's going to be a tough 4-game stretch for you. I think the Heat have the firepower. I think with Duncan Robinson figuring out his stroke and he's becoming one of the hottest 3-point players in the game. I think Jimmy Butler is a great addition to the Heat. I think Nunn is playing out of his mind right now. I think that big 3 down there in Miami is hard to match up with most teams in the NBA if they're hot. But slowing down Giannis and those Bucks is going to be a challenge for most teams. Giannis is like Zion. He's pretty much unguardable. He's going to get his when he wants it. You can slow him down with some doubles, but if Chris Middleton or Bledsoe decide they want to start shooting or distributing, I don't know about a team coming out of the East. I think in all of the history of the NBA, though, there's a couple players that I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. One of those being Michael Jordan, the other one being LeBron James. Out of the West, that Lakers team is a hard out with LeBron and AD. I think last year they were a 4 seed or something until LeBron got hurt, and obviously they went down. But you add a super power star and Anthony Davis, that team is almost unstoppable. I think the Bucks or the Heat could give them a run with their money due to their shooting or Giannis just being a freak. But I don't see Boston coming out. I see it being either the Heat or Milwaukee, and I see the Lakers as the clear favorite in the West. I don't really have another team besides maybe the Nuggets if they can figure it out. Joker's a hard big man to get out, but I think the Lakers are my Lakers, Bucks, and Heat are my 3 favorites.
I'm looking it up right now, but I think Boston was 2-0 against Miami.
I think Miami. I think they're getting hot though they were getting hot at the right time though. So I think down the stretch they were a good team. I just don't see who can go up to Milwaukee and steal a game or 2. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult out.
Yes, I'm kind of agree almost. So my team out of the East is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. To me this season, this is probably one of the most dominant teams this season. Like, no matter what, they're giving every team a hard time. They're physical, they're big, and you got Giannis just under 29, just about 29 points a game. Yeah, like you said, he's unguardable. You can, like you said, you can double him all day, but you got Chris Middleton averaging 21 points a game, Eric Bledsoe averaging 15 points a game, and they're just under 50%. They're very, very good shooters, and they're good distributors. And then you got Brook Lopez still averaging 11 points a game, solid center. You got both of the Lopez brothers on there. And Rodman, he may not get as many minutes, but he's physical. He's always been physical, even when he's in Chicago. And you still got some vets. You got George Hill. You got Wesley Matthews. You got the sharpshooter and Kyle Korver. You got the 4-sport athlete, Pat Connaughton. No, but they're very physical. And I think they would beat. I would say the Celtics. I'm going to give it 6 or 7 games. I think that'd probably be the better conference championship matchup out of the 2 conferences. Because I do think the Celtics would match up best for that but I ultimately think they would come over that. And then for the West, I'm gonna have to go with the Lakers as well. They got up to 4 games behind them at the end of the season,
Behind Milwaukee?
behind Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah.
It was like 4.
No,
I
I
knew they
think it's
got
3.5. 3.5.
3.5. I was just saying, I know they got pretty close. You got Davis and James averaging 25 and 26 points a game. That's already right there. And LeBron playing, he's played 60 games. He played 60 games. Getting him healthy majority of the season was huge. 25 points, 10 assists a game. Then you got Davis going 26 points, 9 rebounds, and big presence with blocks. That's something. This team they're big. They're getting on the boards, and they're going to be straight up, and they're going to make you go. They're making you go. That's the paint. The paint is theirs. Kyle Kuzma, he's been kind of inconsistent throughout the season, but I think the playoffs would give him a chance to kind of step into the spotlight because all the attention is going to be on them, and he's going to be that third option. And although their bench is like a little bit up in age, they're some vets. They've been to the big dance. They've been in the playoffs. You got Danny Green, who was in the playoffs with San Antonio and in the championship last year with Toronto. You got Rondo, who was on the championship Celtics team. You got JaVale McGee, the Shaqtin' a Fool All-Star. And, he's a fool, but he's been there. He's been there with Golden State. Then you add Markieff Morris, who just got here not too long ago. Dwight Howard. Like I think they have enough experience on the bench to make up for maybe not as much points average you're getting, but they're very all around team. And then the finals, I think I would have to give it to I think I'm gonna say the Lakers, and then 6 or 7 because of the Bucks. Because I think playoff LeBron is, he showed it. His record may not be the best, but he shows up. He will be the guy. And Anthony Davis, I think, is going to step up huge, and I think they're going to be able to pull it.
I like that. I'm going to agree with most of you boys on, the best teams, obviously, in the East. We got Milwaukee, Boston, Miami. Toronto slept on, sitting at the 2 seed. Toronto's going to be tough out. They bring back everybody. They get OG this year playing. He wasn't playing last year during that playoff run. I mean, he's a baller. He shoot threes. He can score, play defense. Very versatile player. And then obviously in the West, the Lakers, Clippers are going to headline over there. Maybe the Nuggets, but I mean the Nuggets shown they're a first, second round team. That's about it. Because they just don't have a superstar. I would say, Jokic he's an all-star. He's a good player, but he's not a superstar. To win championships, you need a superstar. You just don't see it a lot, where you don't have a superstar. I mean, the 04 Pistons were the only team not to have, was it the MVP? Correct me if I'm
have
wrong.
An all-star. I don't think they
Or
have
an
all-star,
all-star, yeah. Could be wrong. We can check that. But regardless, I mean, it just doesn't happen. You got to have a star. So, in what I see a Boston-Miami Eastern Conference Finals. I think Miami's too tough for Milwaukee. They beat Milwaukee. They can throw a lot of bodies. Derek Jones, Miles Leonard, Bam. You can throw all those at Giannis, and you can throw the same ones at Brook Lopez. I mean, they're not going to clog the paint. Brooks, I mean, he's really developed into a three-point shooter. So when Giannis is driving, I mean, Brooks usually sitting in the mid-range or 3 points. So you don't really have to worry about an offensive rebound from Brook Lopez. It's more Giannis getting his own rebound. And I think you throw all those bodies at him, no one's going to get in severe foul trouble. I mean, you can even throw Jimmy on him for possessions. I mean, Jimmy will come at him. And that's the issue with Giannis. I think he's maybe 2 years away from really breaking out because, I mean, we've seen his jump shot develop. It's just not there yet. He's gotten better. Some games, he'll go 4 for 7 from 3 or he'll go 1 for 8. I mean, It's just he's just not there yet. And as soon as he can make you respect the three, that's when Milwaukee's going to win a championship. And who knows, he might not even be there. Big free agency coming up. So I got Miami and Boston. I think Boston beats Miami in 6 pretty easily and goes to the finals. They just got too many wings, even when they're unhealthy. I think as long as Kemba's healthy, if they're missing a forward here and there, whether that be Jalen or Gordon, who's missed time here and there, they'll be okay as long as Tatum, because Tatum, the last month and a half, 2 months of the regular season, looked like an MVP caliber player. I mean, seriously, there were serious talks of him being MVP caliber. Not that he was going to win it, but the way he was playing, he was scoring like 28, he's in 30. He was carrying that team, some big wins. I think Boston's very tough. They were getting really hot at the end, right before, all this happened with COVID-19. I mean, they dropped a couple, but that was due to injury. They're very hot. And then in the West, I'm going to roll with the Lakers all the way. I just want to mention out that OKC is sitting at the 5 seed, and I think they would upset the Utah Jazz in 5.
Five.
In 5, because I just
I
don't
agree.
think the Jazz are a very good team, because we all thought Mike Conley would be better, and he just has not been that good in Utah. And you're just Mitchell and Gobert's not going to score, so you're really stuck with a one-dimensional scorer and Donovan Mitchell. Maybe a surprise 14 from Joe Ingles, but that's about it.
Toby Flenderson.
Hey, don't
Toby
sleep on Joe
Flenderson.
Ingles.
But the OKC Thunder would play the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round matchup, and they would lose in 4 games. They would get swept, but that would be a great season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I just want to mention that. But the Los Angeles Lakers will handily take care of the West. I think this is LeBron's last year to win a championship, just because of the team bench, very old. They don't have a lot of cap. I mean, that team has played very well this year, I think, with an extra year on them, and they're not going to have a good draft spot. I don't even think they have a pick anyway
No, they
for
traded
the
it.
ballot. Yeah, they don't even have a pick. So they just don't have. This is, I think, maybe this year. Who knows what LeBron's going to look like next year? This was their year to win it, and then after that, it was going to be the Clipper show. It's still going to stay in LA, but my finals is going to be a classic Lakers-Boston matchup. And I think the Lakers would have home court because LeBron, that's how it works, right?
Yeah, best
Team
record.
LeBron. Well, yeah, best record, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, yeah. So the
Lakers
Lakers
would
would
have
get
it.
home. Yeah. Lakers would be home. It would be very tough, but I think Boston can steal one in LA, and they're going to win it in 7. They're not going to win in 6. It's going to be a tight series. I just don't think Kyle Kuzma will show up. I think Game 7 will be a bad one for him, and that's why the Lakers will lose. I think LeBron and Anthony Davis go out of their minds for 30-plus each. But I think Boston will give them too much in that Game 7 because they have too many bodies to throw that LA can handle. And, like Mike said, they blew them out in Boston, and then in LA, it was a tight game, questionable call, unhealthy. Yep, without Kemba. And it was a close game in LA. And I just don't think LA can steal one in Boston with that Boston faithful there. So let's move into I like that discussion, boys. Let's move into our surprising team, a good one and a bad one this season in the NBA. Start off with you, Mike.
All right, so I'm going to start with the good one, then we'll go around with the good ones.
Yeah.
So for me, I was really surprised about the Raptors. I'm gonna be honest. I thought they'd be good. Like probably like 4 or 5 seed, but like the East is pretty tight usually, so 4 or 5 seeds not bad. You're pretty close to the 3rd seed usually. But I honestly thought Kawhi Leonard, that was a huge loss. They didn't lose anybody else besides Kawhi.
Marcus
What was that?
Gasol is gone, right?
No,
No, he's just been hurt a little bit.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I thought I thought that was a huge blow. He's a game changer. He both ends of the court. He's elite. He's a closer, as we saw against Philly. He's a man among boys. I just saw you'd kill him. Siakam was coming on. But I thought that was more because he didn't have as much attention to him. Because Kawhi, obviously, he requires everyone's attention. But obviously, I was wrong. Siakam's a beast. Siakam has come on this year. He has shown that he is an all-star and possibly a superstar eventually. He's getting his shot down. He's an athletic 7-footer. He's a less athletic Giannis who can shoot better than Giannis. Yeah. I think he's a beast. He plays defense. I like Siakam a lot. And then you got Fred VanVleet. He's averaging 7 more points per game on the same percentage. That is something that's definitely going to help a team. He's shooting like 45% from the field. And he's getting 7 more points per game. That's huge for a team. And then Gasol, obviously, he's unselfish. He doesn't care anymore about putting up points or rebounds. He just does what he needs to do. He plays great defense, and as I said, he's unselfish. And then Serge Ibaka, he's been good for a long time, but he just continues to keep pushing. I know in Oklahoma City he was shooting mid-range, some threes, but now he's really come alive with those threes. He's hitting clutch shots for him. Plays great defense, as always. I mean, he has his whole career. He's a great rebounder, obviously. And then I was really surprised that they're as good as they are. Obviously, their players came alive. They learned that they were good last year with Kawhi, but they just continue to stay. They learned that they are good. It's not because of Kawhi. They are actually good players, and they're just a great team, great coach. I was about to say they're a good team. I was super surprised. They surprised me.
Yeah, I just want to add real quick. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a guy like Nick Nurse win Coach of the Year again. I mean, just what he's done with that team. Him and Mike Lowry leading the team.
Yeah.
Mike Lowry.
Yeah, the Raptors definitely had a very impressive season this year. I mean, I can't really hate on anything you said. I mean, they've definitely played a lot better than they should have. I mean, on paper. I mean, losing a Kawhi Leonard, a top 5 player in this league.
I was a big fan of the Brooklyn Nets for staying in the Eastern Conference. I feel that they didn't have high expectations coming in. I feel like without Kevin Durant, that team's really in a struggle. And then they had but they did surprisingly well. They were, if the season ended today, they were the 7th seed in the East, and the East is a soft conference. I get it, but they were hurt for majority of the year. You had your leading scorer up until the point where he got hurt, Karis LeVert. He went out with an injury. And you had Kyrie Irving only played 20 games this year. You had DeAndre Jordan, who was just average at best this year, only averaging like 8 points a game. He had 10 boards, but I mean, being that big, I would hope 10 boards fall to you. But he kind of just played average. There were a lot of average players, but they came together to be honestly a special team without any superstars. Maybe Spencer Dinwiddie, he was averaging 20. But I think, if your best player is a backup guard or a 2 guard, you should have a great season. And they're a 7th seed and they got healthy when they needed to. Kyrie was coming back, I think, towards the end of the year. I think Karras, he was out for a while. I think he was supposed to be back, or he was back by postseason. So I think he'd be 100% by the time they got into the playoffs. And I don't think they would make a ton of noise. I think having to play the Raptors, like you said, it's a solid team. They couldn't beat the Raptors. They don't have enough firepower. If they have KD, I've seen him shooting a little bit on Twitter. I think if KD was 100% ready to go, that team would run the table up until they had to play like the Heat or a team that played together the whole year, the Heat, Boston, Milwaukee. But I think they'd be a tough out with KD, but they don't have him. But they were surprising with the little expectations that they had. They exceeded them even with the injuries and things. So I think my surprise good team this year has to be the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, I would agree. I think honestly, like they were let down by Kyrie. He was being a baby most of the season. Like he could have played through the original injury, I think. But it didn't seem like he wanted to be there. It seemed like he wanted to wait for KD. He didn't want to be the leader of the team. That's what it seemed like, and it showed in Boston.
I don't think I don't think he's had the characteristics of a leader. Even going back to Cleveland when he was mad at LeBron for not getting more spotlight. I think he went to Boston and showed that he's just not a leadership. He's not a one player. He can make and create for himself, but I don't think he's that face of a program yet. I think when KD comes back, he will be the face of the Nets, and Kyrie will slide right into his 2 role. And I'm not saying Kyrie's a bad player at all. Kyrie is an all-star, all-pro, probably first ballot Hall of Fame when he gets there, but I think that he is not a superstar caliber LeBron AD yet. He could be if he, you said quits being a baby. But I think with KD, that team's a completely different team. They're a 2-3 seed in the East, but they don't have KD, so I think there's going to be an average team until he comes back.
One thing I like to add real quick about Brooklyn is let's say the season comes back in June, and let's say they play a couple games ahead in the postseason. That'd be scary if KD was able to come back in July, and everyone would be in trouble. I mean, especially in the East. I mean, he's not going to be 100% when he comes back, but I mean, if somehow KD's been working in the gym, it'll be almost a full year post Achilles. I know he's 7-footer, but that would not be something you want to play if they can somehow get the season going and KD's healthy. Because let me tell you, that'll shake up the East for sure with Kevin Durant coming into bloom.
I still don't see Brooklyn coming out, but I could see them making some noise for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I was saying.
I don't even know if they could beat Toronto with KD. Let's say they get 5 games before the postseason starts. That's not enough time. And he's going to be rusty. I don't care how much you've been in the gym. You're going to be rusty. I don't care who the player is. It could have been MJ, Kobe, LeBron. It doesn't matter. You're not going to come in, let's say 5-10 games, and then you're going to be elite and ready to go with a team, a brand new team at that. Players you've never played with before. No, I don't think. I mean, I think they would make it more competitive. They wouldn't get swept, but I don't think they could beat Toronto.
Be a 6-game series instead of 4.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So my good surprise team for this season, and I think probably the most exciting team to watch this season, was hands down Oklahoma City Thunder.
Thunder up.
They preseason, even me as a huge Thunder fan, this was the first step of the rebuild year, losing Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and even not like huge in the spotlight, but a huge loss for them was Jeremy Grant. He's a solid like 12-point guy on the starting lineup, but preseason they were projected to win 32 games, and we're in the bottom half, like for betting for even making the playoffs. And they actually closed out the season 40-24. So for a team that didn't, Chris Paul, I was very skeptical about how he was going to fit in with that team, but I think that honestly, he is the perfect fit for that team. He's a vet, and he's been a huge person there to develop Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Dennis Schroeder. He's been a great guy for them, and especially for like the young guys like Darius Bazley and some of them. Like he's been a great leader for the team. They're very young, and even in the future, they got so many picks. I'm so excited for that. But they found a huge emerging star in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. He stepped up big time this year, averaging 19 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, he is very underrated, and I think he's has a good chance to make some noise in the future. So they ended at the 5th seed or the 4th seed, I believe.
They were 4.
4,
no,
yeah.
5.
They're 5. Jazz is 4.
Yeah.
Jazz was 4.
So I don't think they would win the championship, obviously, but I do think that they would definitely make some noise. It would cause some trouble. Dennis Schroeder, 6-man, he played huge. I'll go in a little bit more detail later, but Billy Donovan, he really showed that he can coach this team because I've been a little bit skeptical about him as well, but he really stepped up this season and they looked great.
All right. Yeah, I'll just say I agree with that. I mean, OKC was definitely the most fun team to watch. I mean, they're just so young, and they had so many comebacks this year. I don't know how many it was, but they were like top in the league for fourth quarter comebacks.
They led the league in 20-point comebacks as well.
Well, and I know not a lot of people talk about him, but Steve Adams, man, he's consistent. He's always doing what he needs to do. He plays defense. He rebounds. He's great on offense, but it's like a slept on thing, you know. Like he's got a little bit of like a jumper, like a little like short mid range.
Yeah, a little
He's great in the
mid-range.
post too. And there's really no true centers anymore. So that's a huge advantage for him. Obviously in the first round they play Rudy Gobert, which would be a great matchup for him. But like if they got stuck with like a different team with not as good center, oh, he's gonna dominate.
And he's 7 feet tall, and I think easily he's like widely watching the games. He's really one of the best centers to run pick and roll with because he's a big body and he frees open space for himself. And even if he doesn't get it for himself, somebody's getting to the rack because he's big. He takes up a lot of space. Yeah, he had 10 points, 9 rebounds a game, so he was a solid guy.
All right, so I'm going to go with my team that surprised, and that's going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. Before the season, their projection win was 28, and we're only 65 games or so in. I think the Memphis is, and they're already at 32 and 33, not quite 500, but I mean, you have a favorite for Rookie of the Year in Ja Morant. Jaren Jackson has been quite the player who they added from Michigan State. He can stretch the floor, play defense. Jaren Jackson's a very good player. Somebody else who they picked up was Brandon Clark, and he's been a very good player for them. And they're just very young. I think, like I said earlier, if the season were to continue on, I like Memphis taking the 8. If we come back, maybe Portland steps up. But, I mean, Memphis has gone beyond what they're supposed to and definitely ahead of schedule in their rebuild. And I think they're a very exciting team with a player like Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. I think they're going to be a dynamic duo in this league for a good 5-10 years together if Memphis can keep them together and keep building around those two pieces because Ja shows he can shoot the 3. I mean, y'all know he chirped Harden. That's Mike's boy. When Harden gave him some space, I mean, Ja can finish, he can pass, and like I said, Jackson can score from all over the floor. He can pick and pop, obviously play down low, and I just think Memphis overperformed. And I think next year will be a bigger awakening when I think Ja and the Grizzlies are up with, I think next year the Pelicans and Zion, hopefully being what they'll be. And with B.I., those two will be like maybe 3 and 6 in that range, both those teams. And that'll be a great, hopefully we get that matchup in the playoffs soon because I think that'll be an electric matchup in the future.
I agree. Yeah, I like, and they also no one really talks about. They have Jonas Valanciunas too.
Jonas
He's a
Valanciunas.
great, he's a good center. He's consistent. He does his job.
Yeah, he's been very good for them. I mean, he's double figures in points and rebounds, and if I don't think rebounds, he's at like 9.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely, and he's still young. I want to say he's 26 to 28 in that range. So he's got some years on him. And he can shoot mid range too. Not really much a 3-point threat as Jaren Jackson, but you're not going to give him a wide open mid range because he can knock those down. So let's move into our bad teams this year. Mike, you want to start off with the teams that upset you this year or underperformed?
Yeah. So my team that I thought underperformed was the Dallas Mavericks. Going into the season, going last year. I was a big fan of Luka. Any of these guys will tell you. I thought he was going to be the best player in the draft. And I liked his talent. He showed last year that he is a superstar. Maybe not a superstar yet, but he's an all-star. He is probably going to be first team. If he doesn't get first team, it's going to be close. He's going to just miss it and get second team. Luka's a beast. You know, he's a facilitator. He's a scorer. He plays defense. He does everything. And then the addition of Kristaps, I thought that was going to be the dynamic duo, the upcoming dynamic duo. They're both super young. Kristaps being 24, I believe, 23 or 24, and then you got Luka, who's 19.
I think he just turned 21.
Just turned 21.
Like during this season, yeah.
Okay.
He was 19 when he was drafted.
Okay, all right. So 21 and 24. I thought that was the duo to the upcoming duo. Kristaps before he got hurt, he was something. 7'3". He could shoot the three. He had some dribble moves for over 7-footer. He could play in the post. He played defense. He did everything. This season, he actually did. He wasn't himself, but he was a good player. He was a solid guy. He averaged more points than his career average. Same with rebounds. He's a little down on blocks, but he's not playing the center anymore because they have Powell. He's like their rotating guy compared to where in New York he was the primary big man. Also, I didn't like they had a pretty decent roster. They had guys like Tim Hardaway, they had Seth Curry, who were like good role guys. I'm not saying they're necessarily like excellent, but they're good role players. And someone like those two guys around two stars, in my opinion, they should shine, and they did. But it just seems like the team didn't really come together like the way they should have. And injuries also hurt them because I know Luka was out for a little bit, and then KP got hurt as well for a little bit. So one guy is not going to be able to do it for them. So I think injuries really what hurt their season, but another year to mesh, I think this team could be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was surprised at the lack of production from Luka and Kristaps. I think that was a good point you made. I think for my team, I was looking at we talked about them a lot earlier, so I don't want to harp on them too much. But the Portland Trailblazers, they really let me down this year. You go up to Golden State last year. You get swept in 4 games, but you have a couple 15-point leads, I think they said, and a couple of just games that you should have had but didn't. And that Golden State team, that was a great team. Don't get it wrong. They earned that sweep, but I think Portland could have taken that game to 6 or 7 games. But so coming off of that great season they had, they should be at least, you would think, 4 seed, 3 seed in the West, and they just, I don't know what it was. They just didn't have it. They have Trevor Ariza, they have Dame, they have CJ Nurkic. I think the addition of Melo wasn't a bad pickup. I think Melo has underperformed to his standards. Hassan Whiteside is a defensive player of the year in the question of it. And I think they just didn't come together for whatever reason. Like they were all clicking on different cylinders and they were each blowing up in different games and not playing together as a team up in Portland. So I think for my surprise team is Portland. I still think that they have the opportunity to become the 8th seed and have the blessing of getting smacked by LeBron and the Lakers. But I think that for right now, they're just underperformed to my expectations for them.
I agree with that. They really have with the 2 superstars that they have, or a superstar and star that they have. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, injuries hurt them this year, but regardless, I mean, they're pretty loaded versus some of the other teams. I mean, like, even with injuries, they should have been above Memphis. I mean, Dallas has had injuries, and they're still at the 7th seed with 40 wins. I mean, the Trailblazers at 29, not even close to what they were last year. Even with inconsistent injuries, like Chayton said, even when they were healthy, it never seemed like they were all going to go – they're going off together. It was just spurts. So, yeah, I just agree with that. Injuries hurt them, but, I mean, they could have been better even with those injuries.
You got to put a little bit on that on Dame. Honestly, I know that team wasn't healthy, but if you're supposed to be the star and the leader of that team, you gotta get some fire under some people or something and have them come together. I know Melo's the vet, the oldest guy, 2003 draft, with LeBron, but I think that that's Dame's team, and he's got to figure it out. I don't know what it is or what he's got to do to be a better leader, but I think I'm disappointed in Dame more than I am with the Trailblazers.
Hmm.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, for my team that I just feel like underperformed was the Chicago Bulls. Um, Ended at 22-43. Now, with the team being so young, I obviously wasn't expecting like a huge like 3, 2, 3, 4 seed, but I felt like they could have been a team this year that could have grabbed like a 7 or 8 with the East not being, the East is strong like up top, but it's it could go anywhere beyond the four. Um, Levine really stepped up this year. His career average in points of 17. This year he's averaging 25 points a game. He's been the utmost leader of that team right now. Markkinen, I feel like he's kind of underperformed, only averaging 14 points a game. That's somebody that I feel like is kind of in the similar boat as Kristaps, similar size. They can both. I feel like he's a little less athletic than him, but they have kind of similar attributes, and I just feel like he could have been more productive. Kobe White, their rookie.
I think he was hurt a little bit too.
Hmm?
Marketing. I think he was hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say he played 50 games.
Okay.
But with Kobe White, I feel like he is I think he's great. I feel like he should have got way more opportunities. He showed in the last 2 3 weeks of the season when they were playing that once he started getting more minutes, and when he only started one game this season, and in those games he averaged he got like in between 18 to 25 points like within the last couple of weeks of the season. So I think if they could have gave him more opportunities, I feel like that could have been somebody that could have really helped them because he still managed to average 13 points a game off the bench. Because you got some vets, you got Otto Porter, you got Thaddeus Young, um, you got some guys that have been there for a little bit. You got Chris Dunn, Wendell Carter. He's somebody who's kind of battled. He battled with some injuries throughout the season, still managed to play 43 games, had 11 points a game. But I feel like I just got disappointed. You had Daniel Gafford, who I felt like could have been one of the better centers of the draft, only averaging 5 points. Like, I just feel like I got let down. Maybe they have I feel like maybe after seeing this season, I feel like they have another maybe 1 or 2 seasons before they can start becoming a playoff team just because they're so young. But I do think that's a team to look out for the future.
Yeah, I think the Bulls are definitely a disappointment. I'm just going to touch on this real quick. I think Jim Bowen needs to go, their head coach. With all they had a decent mix with some veterans and some young players, even with injuries. They're putrid. I mean, there's just nothing around that. They're putrid. And there's no reason they should be. Wendell Carter battled some injuries, but Gafford underperformed. I mean, I think Bolin's got to go first, and then maybe get some new leadership there, help the Bulls. But I'm going to, you know what? We scripted. I think I was going to go with the Kings, but it's some BS what Philly has put on the court. I mean, it's just garbage. They underperformed. I was going to stay away from Philly because I just cannot stand Philly. I can't stand their fans. I can't stand any team they put on any field or court. Philly's just garbage. I mean, I respect the city, but their fans are awful. And, you think about at the beginning of the season, you got Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid is probably the biggest baby in the NBA, and he is the biggest player in the NBA. He sits out with a pinky finger. He's been called up by Shaq and Charles for how lazy he's been, and he's selective in what games he decides to go beast mode. I mean, this dude, he can dominate whenever he feels like it. But that's the problem. He only does it when he feels like it. And he's shined away from the big moment, I feel like, in the playoffs. He showed in the past. He gets sick. He gets hurt. Well, boo-hoo. I mean, We've seen Michael Jordan with the flu game. We've seen players play injured. I mean, Isaiah Thomas with a freaking sprained ankle going off for 20 and a quarter. I think Brett Brown needs to go because, they've tried this team. I don't think it's going to work. Jimmy wanted out. JJ had to get out. They try to replace that with Al, who hasn't fit there, which I don't know why they signed Al Horford because he's not an electric three-point shooter by any means. Back end of his career, a good role player still. I mean, he's a Boston Celtic. Love him for being a great player here to help that rebuild. But it's a bad fit. Ben Simmons can't shoot. Joel Embiid is forced to stand outside more. That team's got to blow up, I think. I mean, they're sitting, I want to say, 6th seed right now.
Yeah.
Process is slowing down, man.
What was that?
So the process is slowing down, man.
The process is slowing down for sure, and they're just been a huge disappointment in the NBA because even with their starting 5, let's say Al Horford's not much of a fit, you just bring him off the bench. Those 4, you think they could easily be at least a top 3 seed. I mean, the talent that's there, they should be a top 3 seed, and they're underperforming. They're only good at home, and you got to win games on the road in the playoffs. And I think they would have been a first-round bounce. And that's when Brown been fired, and I think either they moved Joel or Ben. I don't know which one. I hear reports that they lean towards Ben a little more or Joel a little more. I would probably lean more towards Joel because his ceiling's higher, but he obviously has injury. He has a pass with injuries. And that's, something you don't want to have in a big man. And but that team has just been putrid. They're on the downswing. They don't have any money cap, so they're not going to sign anybody special in the offseason. So they're kind of stuck with what they got unless they trade. Unless you guys have anything to add about Philly, I mean.
No, you got to blow that team up. Unless Ben Simmons can develop a jump shot, I think when you get a guy that's no one's guarding with, he gets anywhere close to the 3-point line, and no one's within 25 feet of him. They can play on their bench and have a better defense against Ben Simmons the 3-point line. And I think unless he develops a shot of any kind, I think that team is going to struggle. And I think he has to go. I think Joel is a great player when he wants to be, like you said, but I think Ben Simmons and that just lack of a jump shot from a guard. I think he's a forward, but they have him playing the point guard. If your guard can't shoot, your guy bring up the floor, can't pick and pop and things like that. Just don't even. It's going to be a struggle for you. So I think Ben Simmons has to go. But I do agree in the soft East, that is what is of a conference that Philly should be at least a 4 seed, fighting for the 2 or 3 seed. But they're just putrid, absolutely putrid.
Yeah, I think Philly they're bad. I think it doesn't even seem like Ben Simmons really worked on a jump shot, in my opinion. I mean, he hits 3-pointers in pregame. I don't care about that. Steph Curry hits shots from the tunnel. I don't care. He's shooting 62% from the free throw line. That shows me that he really has not tried to improve his game. So he went from his rookie year, he shot 6% from the free throw line, then went to 60, and then went to 62. It's improving, but for a guard, 62% is horrible. He doesn't seem like he wants a jump shot, and that's not going to work with Embiid. I think Simmons has to go because he's not attempting to get better. Joel Embiid is lazy, but he has gotten better. He's developed a 3-pointer, which is not the best, but for a big man, it's pretty good. And as you said, he's probably the most dominant center in the league in the post. Even facing up, he'll get you, and he's a great defender at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think Ben Simmons needs to go somewhere where he's not where their best player isn't a center, like where they have like another guard or a forward who can score the ball. Because honestly, even although he has a horrible shot right now, he is easily one of the best passers in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He can dish the ball. He can dish the ball. He can get boards. But, even if he started trying to develop it more like Giannis. Like Giannis is, he's not known for his 3-point, but he's trying. You see, he's trying to take more shots in the game. Just so he can at least be respectable at the line. Because, like, you get to a point where you see Ben Simmons standing on the 3-point line and everybody else is social distancing him and standing in the paint because they know he can't shoot. Like, at least if you can at least get somebody to at least come up and, try to put their hand up, or just at least, come up so I can either get past you or I can find somebody else that's open. You can't be like this. The way that the game is developing right now, you can't be one-dimensional.
Yeah, and he's a one-dimensional player. That's the thing is you got to shoot in the game. I mean, Giannis. I mean, this dude airballs threes. We've seen it all the time, but he's still shooting them. And sometimes he bang out from 3. I mean, Ben Simmons, you can do it in practice, but you got to do it in the game. Who cares if you airball it? I mean, Giannis is a top 5 player in the league, and he does it I wouldn't say frequently, but he's done it multiple times this season and in his career. But he's trying to improve, and you're not going to improve by not shooting in the game because that's when it counts.
Well, and Giannis even airballs free throws.
Yeah, he airballs free throws. I mean,
so and he's, as you said, top 5 player in the league, and he's not embarrassed about it. So Ben's
MVP,
not even a top 5 player.
Yeah, MVP and a front runner